Dario here reporting for the West Island blog. We are here in Il Bazaar with local West Island author Leonard Lafleur joining me today to speak more about his book. Of course, as a West Island author, the book was also written about a story that involves here in the West Island. Thank you for joining with me today.
A pleasure, Dario.
So please, to start off, tell me a bit about your history of your personal history and a bit about the history of the story.
Okay, I'm the fifth of 10 children. I was born and raised in a town called Lachute that many of your viewers know well, probably, because it's cottage country for a lot of people. And we grew up in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. My dad was a local doctor. And we had a great youth in a small town where both Anglophones and Francophones were shoulder to shoulder, and we were living in a bubble.
And so your book, Foundry Street, A Place in Time, the context of the story does take place in your town of Lachute. Tell the viewers a bit more about what they will find while reading the stories in Foundry Street.
Okay, well, Foundry Street is a collection of very short memories, 2 pages, 3 pages, of my youth, starting way back in the early 50s, right up to, in fact, into the 2010, 2020 on some of them. They're short stories. You'll find maybe 50 or 60 short stories in there that are basically, they're based on facts. I might have embellished some of them a tiny bit, but basically a lot of people will relate to many of the adventures I had as a youth, the friendships, the ongoing interactions between our Francophone community and the Anglophone community in my hometown. It was a perfect youth.
And many West Islanders, of course, how do you feel they could relate to the stories while reading it as they have lived in the West Island?
Okay, well, I think most of your viewers, if they, for example, if they're over 60, will remember their own youth. And most people, even if they're younger, will also relate because we're talking about the same thing. In my case, I'm talking about, for example, I have a few stories around Christmas, how we prepared for Christmas in a family of 10 children, how Santa Claus was important. I go on and I talk about, we used to go into the local forest and we had our battles set up against a group of people, and the next day the same groups were intermingling and another battle went on. We had lots of fun. And we had sports, we played in the streets. It was a very safe environment, and I'm sure your viewers will remember a time when you didn't have to worry when your children went out on the street.
I'm sure many in the community, while reading the book, it will bring them back, and they'll find some memories that they had in the older times. If we look at the title, Foundry Street, how does that book relate to the story and relate to yourself as an author?
Okay, well, the photo you see on the cover was our home. It was a large Victorian type home built by my great grandfather at the end of the 19th century, early into the 20th century, and it was on the corner of 2 streets in my hometown. The streets were Bethany Street and Foundry Street. So our house was right on that corner. Now, Foundry Street became Lafleur Street in 1961 when my dad passed away. The local city council decided to honor his memory by changing Foundry Street to Lafleur Street. So that's the reason why it's called Foundry Street.
Amazing. Foundry Street, A Place in Time, written by local West Island author Leonard Lafleur. And a final question, as a Francophone, as yourself, was it a challenge to write Foundry Street, which is, of course, an English book?
Well, that's a very good question. All of my education was in French, from primary to secondary to University of Montreal. However, most of my career with an airline was spent working in both languages once again, but the majority of the correspondence was in English. And I am an avid reader. I mean, if I don't read a book a week, I am not a happy person. So reading and writing in both languages has never been an issue for me. However, I find it easier to write in English because the grammatical rules are so much easier. So perhaps that's the reasons why. I can't really explain it beyond that. So I'll let your readers decide. And perhaps I wanted to add that Foundry Street is available on the net at lulu.com. Lulu, Lulu.com is the printer editor, and you can order it there. Or I have some copies myself at home, so should anyone be interested. Thank you.
We'll have the contact info in the description above this video. Thank you very much for meeting with us today.
Thank you very much for taking time to see me, Dario.
Dario De Felice reporting in Il Bazard for the West Island blog.